Slasher is about a series of murders in a small town. These are murders that are based on a killing that happened in the late 1980s. The daughter of the first people that were killed comes back to her small town and the murders start happening all over again.
I think she's trying to understand why the executioner did what he did. And she still has the house the parents were murdered in, so her and her husband moved back to try and start a new life and move forward.
What happened here before? Yeah, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what we put into this place, you and me.
I think she wanted to face her demons. You learn from Sarah's backstory that she has been running away from her past and from the horror of where she came from, and pretending it didn't happen hasn't worked. So the best thing that she can now think of to do is to go back and face it and put it behind her that way.
I think a lot of viewers will be able to identify with Sarah moving back to her hometown, and maybe not necessarily dealing with your parents' murder, but you know, we all have demons that we have to battle. I've had to battle some demons the last few years of my life, so I certainly relate to what Sarah's going through, and I think a lot of people will.
Is my wife typically front page news?
The murders were big around here, I get it, but it happened almost 30 years ago.
A husband and wife were slaughtered in their house. The wife is 9 months pregnant and the baby is cut from her womb. Now that same baby, all grown up, moves back into her old house. I don't know what they taught you in J school, but that is a story.
I play her husband, Dylan Bennett. I'm very much in support of her moving back, so we move back together. I get a job at the local paper, and upon us moving back, all of a sudden it's mayhem and these murders start happening again.
The residents of Waterbury, they are inevitably suspects in what ends up being a number of murders, horrible situations that I think the audience has never seen before.
All the characters in this show have some dark secret that's putting them on the radar of the executioner.
You think you know who they are from first sight, but the more you get to know them, you know, everybody's got a little something here and there. You know, we're not one-dimensional people.
Everybody does have sort of, I don't want to say valid motivation because there's never any valid motivation to go on a killing rampage, but I think from the viewer's perspective, I think they'll see something in every character that could like legitimize them as the executioner.
Halloween really became a touchstone for us, and we watched that a lot. And then for me too, I mean, just a lot of films from that era, specifically Brian De Palma and Dario Argento, anything where there was just a ludicrous amount of blood and just a gleeful sense of mayhem were huge influences. And then just some modern films, especially this film called It Follows was a really big influence for us shooting the show.
It's gonna be okay. No, Sarah, it isn't. I want to protect you, but tell me, how do I do that? You're in danger.
Aaron writes strong female characters, but he writes it in such a way that there's so many mitigating factors that when I'm working on a part like this, you think, I can put myself in that position. I know what it might have felt like at that time and why I might have done something like this. So his female characters really drive this story. It's the young Katie, and then all the women that are around in all the different stories that get affected in this little town.
I think she feels guilty about that. She's come back to the town, all these murders have started happening, and then also she feels like she's the cause of them, and so the weight on her shoulders is that she has to solve them. And she's going to stand up to the executioner like she couldn't when she was a baby, but then also the responsibility.
I think ultimately Sarah coming back to Waterbury is for her to have a sense of closure on the events that happened to her in her life. A lot of people relate to that right away. I think that's a fascinating adventure that she just can't not do.
Quite a few red herrings that you'll be chasing in this, going, oh, I know exactly, he did it, or she did it, no, he did. And then you'll be really surprised at the end when you find out who it really is.
You'll always have a hybrid with horror shows where you really end up with a really dramatic element to it. You have to really build up characters and fall in love with them so when they're ripped away from you, it really means something.
She's come back to the town, all these murders have started happening, and then also she feels like she's the cause of them, and so the weight on her shoulders is that she has to solve them. And if she figures that she's safe, then she's the only person in town who can really do it. And she's going to stand up to the executioner like she couldn't when she was a baby, but then also the responsibility.
If I was put in the same position as Sarah, it's easy to say that I would stand there and fight. And of course, we all think that that would be our best self.
I think Sarah's really ballsy to stick it out and to stay in the town. I feel like Allison has some of that balls as well.
You only get one shot at it, and you know, fight or flight. I say, like, fight, get up, do it. Rejection, dust yourself off, whatever it is, whatever people think of you, you know, just, I say, yeah, stand up and fight.
I think I would stay and fight. It's my family, you know? If something like that happened to my family, I'd want to stay and at least find out what's going on. And then, you know, and if that would help solve the crimes for these heinous killings, I think that would inspire you to fight more.
It's the young Katie, and then all the women that are around and all the different stories that get affected.
I think ultimately Sarah coming back to Waterbury is for her to have a sense of closure on the events that happened to her in her life. A lot of people relate to that right away.
The original Evil Dead, because it's scary as hell, but there's some great tongue-in-cheek, funny things in it.
The Others with Nicole Kidman. It was really, really well done. I saw it a few years ago, and it, like, affected me, but it was a horror film, and it was great, and the acting was really, really great, and it was shot beautifully. So I think that would be it.
The Descent. It's horrendous. The most terrifying one I ever saw was Blair Witch Project. It still is for me. I grew up in, like, the mountains in Jasper, and now it's ruined my whole experience of nature and camping. Thanks so much.
The Exorcist is, I think, a brilliant movie. The Shining, I think, is a brilliant movie.
Not going as far as The Exorcist. I don't like demons. I'm not into that. Something like The Others or The Ring.
There was a movie called Witchboard, and it scared the pants off of me. There were many gruesome and horrible deaths, but you never really knew who was doing it and what was happening. And the idea of not knowing, which I think slasher has, is that you don't know who is responsible. And it's a surprise, and it's scary, and I think that's what the ultimate goal of this genre is. I'm a huge fan of the horror genre. I've been a fan since I was a little kid. When I was 11, I actually, with my cousin, we built a Freddy Krueger glove, but it was authentic. It had real metal, and it was incredibly dangerous. And until I brought it upstairs, did my parents realize what we were doing and decide it wasn't such a great idea.
I can't watch horror films because they terrify me.
I used to like to watch them when I was young. Now I'm old, I hate to watch them. I don't want to be in the theater. Like, just tell me when it's over.
I don't watch scary movies. I like a little blood spatter, I like forensic files, I like all that detective work stuff. But the guy behind the door with the knife terrifies me. So I have a really active imagination. I'm an actor. I don't want any more bad dreams. So I really try to stay away from stuff that might keep me up at night.
The only horror film that's ever really scared me is The Descent. And dear God, Neil Marshall, I hate you for making that movie. And actually what's great about that movie as well is it's 4 women, which is rare in horror, that there are no real male characters in it, and it's 4 strong women.
Do horror films scare me? Yes and no. They scare me in the moment that I'm watching it, but I won't, like, after the movie's over, it's like, you know, I won't sleep with all the lights on, or, you know, any little sound freaks me out.
Horror films terrify me. I'm very scared of ghosts. I believe in spirits and all of that. So generally, any kind of horror film that involves like a spirit or ghost kind of thing, I can't watch.
I love horror films. When I was a kid, my aunt, I begged her to let me watch this total B-movie horror film called Basket Case. I don't know if you remember that. It was like this person had this growth attached to them, and they cut it off, and it was actually living, and it went and killed the doctors that did the operation. I remember, I don't think I slept for a good 3 or 4 months.
They don't scare me. I'm in the business, so a lot of even a very well done horror film, I'm watching more the art of it and the tricks. There's still classics that I love to watch, Poltergeist and Shining, you know. So there's some like that, but I'm not watching them for the horror at that point. I'm watching them because they're just brilliant.
My favorite, oh my gosh. There's so many. I gotta say, Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy was I just thought, what a great character. He was a living being at one point, and he's come back. And he had such a rich, nasty, dark past. I really like creative deaths, and they were some of the best.
I mean, I loved all. I think Dream Warriors was my favorite. Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors. I think that was my. Because I loved all the Nightmare on Elm Street films, but I think Dream Warriors was my absolute favorite. Yeah.
I love all the Halloween ones. Do you know, I just love Jamie Lee Curtis. She's cool. You know, and then I watched Carrie, Sissy Spacek. Man, you are insane looking, and just her eyes, and that's one of the ones that I really watch for, like, emoting fear and just terror. Even though she ends up being the bad guy, you're just like, her face is unbelievable, and you're petrified because she's petrified.
The horror film that stands out to me that I'm mortified of is Candyman.
I love horror films. Some of the Friday the 13th were great. Halloween, I mean, like Mike Myers, and it was something I grew up on. It was the genre that everybody flocked to and got scared.
Halloween, that is really well done. But again, that's like old school. It's all the suspense and anticipation. That was really well done.
My favorite 80s slasher film is Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. And yeah, we just had an unfortunate passing of the creator. But luckily, I think we have people like Aaron and Adam and everybody who's involved who really want to create something that's in that genre and strikes a place in the hearts of slasher fans all around the world.
I feel like I'm playing her. Do you know what I mean? You know, when you're an actress and when you're a woman especially, you kind of always want to play the strong heroine type, especially in a horror movie. You don't want to play, you know, the girl that gets killed by the garage door. So I kind of got it in this, and from all 8 episodes, it's kind of like doing, you know, the 8 Halloween movies or 8, Friday the 13th movies or Nightmare on Elm Street. I've got a bit of it, and the journey that which she goes through in each one.
This is weird, but Chucky from Child's Play, because he's not even a human. So I don't even know how that would work, but whatever. You think about it, I think that'd be awesome.
What horror movie character would I like to take on? That's a hard question for an actor because a lot of them wear masks. I like Mike Myers from Halloween. There's just something a lot like Freddy Krueger. There's just a real human. It's based in a real experience, based on a real person with some real psychological problems. I guess I like that flawed character.
An iconic horror character. Wow. Well, Hannibal's pretty good. Yeah, we all love Hannibal. There's something about the strength of the character that it can bear so many different people portraying it, and it's equally interesting because there's the guts of the character are interesting enough that you want to know more, you want to keep watching. So that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, the one that Jamie Lee Curtis did, Halloween, that I watched recently when I sort of was prepping for this, and I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but I liked that one just because it wasn't so gory and it was all just the suspense and anticipation of what was going to happen. But the fact that that still holds for today, I thought was really impressive.
Whoa, that's a good one. It's hard because they're so often men. They're males, you know? This is maybe not what you want, but I would love to play one of the witches in Macbeth. That's so, I mean, it's like a Shakespearean horror story.
I would have to, honestly, I'd go with Freddy Krueger. I mean, I realize he can never be done. Robert Englund is a master at the character and it can't be duplicated. But if there was some sort of fantasy world where I could go back in and have a swing at it, claw away at the audiences, so to speak, that would be my dig.